We are basically going to be reviewing a rear disconnecting sway bar by a company I've already reviewed one other product, Steinjager, which I think is the coolest name in the industry because it sounds like Jägermeister. I have a bottle of Jägermeister over here. I was gonna make a drinking game out of this video, but I've tried that a few times. I've tried to make this video a couple times. Doesn't work out too well. People are looking at me and they think I'm crazy. But every time I say sway bar during this video, I would take a shot and see how far you can get. There's a link in the description for another video about disconnecting sway bar, which is opposing opinion to my opinion, and I put that in there because I think he proves me right and he doesn't know it, but I think you should watch it, and we're going to talk about that real quick before we talk about the product and why I'm putting it on here. In this video, he has this big tires on a 4-door JK, and he says,
and then everybody's on the flex trailer, and yes, when I'm on the flex trailer, which this Jeep does very well, by the way, I hit gnarlier scores when I disconnect my rear sway bar. The reason why is because when you're on the ramp, it's completely independent, front and rear.
But he doesn't think that you need a disconnecting sway bar because it actually, his theory is when you go up a ramp, it loads the back end down, which he is right. If you're going up something steep, you are going to load the back end down, so it is going to squish. But he also proves me right for everything else because he goes up the ramp, I say halfway up the ramp, maybe a little bit more. Listen closely. Basically grinding. He's grinding that tire into the fender flare. He's just I mean, seriously, I did not own that Jeep, but I was sad for it because he was doing more damage to the tire in that fender than he needed to because he did not properly set up his bump stops. So if you properly set up a bump stop, your tire should never even touch your fender. He did not do that, and if you look at the comments at the beginning, you see a couple thank yous. Check out the newest comments and just scroll down, and people have caught on to that. Like basically they finally heard that he was ripping up his fender. Nothing against him, he seemed like the video was nice. That's why I'm putting a link. You decide. I'm not your daddy. I'm just here to give you my opinion and what the reason I'm doing it. Now, how I'm going about this is different than everybody else. I have 3.5 inches on this with 32-inch tires. I did my adjustable control arms where I already for 2.5 inches. I moved the axle back because I want it centered, and I've changed my pinion because I don't have a slip yoke eliminator kit, which I'm going to change my pinion angle and then change my motor mounts, so that's going to help with any vibrations in my driveline. So I've used the products that I'm buying the way they're meant to, and what I mean by that is adjustable control arms are meant to be adjustable. You do not buy adjustable control arms for a lifted Jeep and then not adjust them. You don't have anything wrong with your vibration, but that's not why you buy adjustable control arms. You're actually trying to correct the geometry for your vehicle. Same thing with the sway bar. There's 100 videos out there, thousands of videos about front disconnecting sway bars. Well, why do you think that? Because it helps with your articulation. Well, if it helps with your articulation in the front, why wouldn't it help with your articulation in the back? If you have proper bump stops set up, okay? So the whole key reason for me taking this axle and the springs in and out and adjusting it is to set up the proper articulation so I can get maximized with this 32-inch tire for now, how far deep in I can tuck that tire, okay? And if I'm doing all that work, why wouldn't I want to get a disconnecting sway bar? Now, like I said, I got cigarettes up, son of a gun. I got a disconnecting sway bar from, man, how many, I'm gonna put like bing, bing, someone's on the ground already. I got a disconnecting sway bar from Steinjager. With that disconnecting sway bar, I got my poly bushings with the grease bolt insert. I was going to get these anyway, so you gotta look at it. For me, I needed new bushings, so I got my bushings. With that, I got the 4-inch quick disconnects. Now this 4-inch is actually good from 2.5 inches to 4-inch. So if you have under 2.5 inch, they have a special one for under 2.5 inch. If you have anything 2.5 inches and above, just get this one, and that'll be fine because you can adjust this. It has a joint at the end that's much more of a pivot joint. That's going to help already a little bit with your articulation. And then you have your quick disconnect on the back. So you get that. And then you're going to get your sway bar itself. It is not a solid tube, but it's not as thin as the stock one. It is a much beefier diameter, and I see nothing wrong. This is not rocket science. I just chose Steinjager because I thought they had a total package set up. The price was good, and I like the company. The whole thing about this series of videos is to help us all understand why we do stuff. And I will be installing this. The whole thing that I'm doing all this stuff for is I'm trying to get that axle far back as possible without hitting the gas tank and clearing everything, and getting as much articulation as I can out of this Jeep. Now, I'm going to shut up in a second, but I also want to talk about anything over 25, connect your sway bars. On the road, don't just take your sway bar and the back off on the JKs or TJs. That's stupid, because there is a roll, and when you roll hard, that's where the flips come into it. Anything under 25 miles per hour is not a big deal. But I want you to think, why is the front sway bar so important to that? Like, even the new Bronco, which I did order, let's say, has a front disconnecting sway bar, because you do want that articulation. So if you want the articulation in the front, you want the articulation in the back. That just makes sense. No one can come explain to me why you wouldn't want the same type of movement in the front and the back to give you the best, travel on a vehicle. So, okay, here's the two sway bars next to each other. You can see the diameter of this one is much thicker than the stock one. Here are the bushings. It comes with the washers right in between the bushings. I did get new bolts just because my bolts were bad. Here are the end links, and I got an extra 4 washers, and I'll show you where I use those. That is a 15 millimeter socket, a 13 millimeter wrench. I have also a 17 millimeter socket and a 17 millimeter wrench, and that's all you need to really put this stuff back on. What was I gonna say? One thing I did notice, here's my original link between the sway bar and the frame. The new ones, when I brought these all the way closest in, there is a difference of about closer to 3 inches than 2.5, but the packing list does say 2.5 to 4 inches. So I'm gonna guess that they know what they're doing, but I will put this on and I will see how it is sitting. If I have any questions, I'll give them a call. But it is closer, it looks like 3 inches than 2.5 inches to me. And I like to be honest during these reviews. So let me get this all together and I'll show you where I'm putting all these. Well, right off the bat, I will show you. Anywhere there's a bolt connecting with metal, I'm just adding in a washer. And that one did, this side where the nipple is, didn't have a washer, so I'm adding that as a washer. Let me put this together. Okay, now these are all installed. We're going to take our links and go underneath the Jeep and install these, and then come back and get the sway bar. Okay, I have my tape up here with a piece of cardboard, and all I'm going to do is take this bolt off with the washer that I'm adding. So that's one of the washers I'm adding. I'm gonna put my washer on. So, oops. But this needs to be between the bars like I just have it. Okay. So I got that in there. Grab my bolt. And then this is where it's a pain in the butt. And this is why you're doing that cardboard, because that hole is right behind this. Okay, make sure you put your nut on the right way. So I'm just gonna slip up the nut and give it a couple of screws. And without that cardboard there, I'd feel so risky about this, but with the cardboard there, I'm just so much easier to do. So that's done there. So that bolt's on until it crimped done. Now we're gonna take my wrench and my socket and self-explanatory at this point. Okay, I didn't record it on the last one. When you get this bolt on, definitely use the cardboard or piece of paper. Before you finish tightening all the way, make sure you take this off because you're gonna have to loosen it up because the hole is there and that bolt literally goes into the hole, so you won't be able to get all that cardboard out. Like I just was not able to. So live and learn. Okay, let me do this side. Okay, so those are in. Now we're gonna put the bar on, and like everything else that I'm putting on this Jeep, everything gets anti-seize. So, and then you take these bushings out. Now these have greasable inserts, but when you're putting this on, you still should take. That's what the instructions say it, and you really should. And I did it with my control arms. Take a little bit of the grease ahead of time. You should put a little bit of grease. You can wipe off excess grease later on. Let's open this up. Oops. And put that on. Okay. Get my rag and wipe my hands in this down a little bit, and we'll put this in now. Okay, now that I'm in an uncomfortable position, what I did ahead of time is I brought the sway bar underneath here. I just connected it because it's a disconnect. I just popped them right on, and now everything's lined up, and I'm going to take my bolts and just hand tighten a couple threads on each one just to line these up. So let's start that right now. Let's get, I got a little paper on my bolt. Get that washer on there. Okay, everything is bolted down now. When you're installing a track bar, what I've always was told and read is this should be as parallel as possible to the vehicle. These are a little bit higher, but they're pretty damn close to parallel. My bolts, these are generic bracket, so you could use the washers that came with it. You don't have to, but you kind of have to line all this up and then tighten it all down. Now, these are your disconnects. There should be a little bit of pressure on here, which there is, and then in theory, these should pop off. Well, never works for anything on the camera. Okay, so that came off, and then in theory, this side should come off. And now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put these when I disconnect them. I'm probably gonna build a bracket or some type of tie down right there so they're out of the way. And then when you come off the trail, all you have to do, click it on and click it on, and you're reconnected. Don't forget to tighten your nuts here. So this part of the project is done. Now, next part will be a video like a track bar. And the reason I got the track bar with the bracket is when you lift your vehicle, again, every time I buy something, I'm buying something and using it for its reason of what it's built for. I'm gonna put the extension bracket on, and the reason being is when you lift the Jeep up, there's a cross line and you're changing your center of gravity of the vehicle and you're raising it up, which is gonna, and you're also messing with the axle side to side. When you bring that bracket up, you're actually bringing that line back into a little bit better play, a little bit more back to stock, which is going to give a better ride with the bar connected on the road and without the bar connected on the trail. So this part of the project is done. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to get off my back. That's what she said. And I'll talk to you later.